If you've been playing for a few years, you probably have a complex relationship with the minor pentatonic scale.
I love you. I hate you. I love you.
But what if the problem is you?
I hate you.
Today I'm going to show you the 4 simple tips I give my late beginner and intermediate students to help them break out of the noodle zone when using the minor pentatonic box. These are tricks that solo experts like B.B. King, Stevie Ray Vaughan and John Mayer use that you probably don't, including the genius behind this Stevie Ray Vaughan lick. Number 1, the storytelling secret. This is the intro to Thrill Is Gone by B.B. King, and here he's doing something really subtle to make the basic pentatonic notes more interesting. B.B. King is writing a story with this solo, and like writing a story, we don't just write a big blocks of words, we add full stops at the end of each sentence to tell the reader that each little section is completed, and then these sentences are grouped with a paragraph. But what the hell does this have to do with the minor pentatonic scale? There are 3 root notes within the scale, and these are the most resolved of all the notes. So you think of these like full stops. This is the tab of the intro to Thrill Is Gone from the original recording. There's a bunch of notes here, but really there are 3 phrases. And guess what? Each one of these phrases finishes on a root note, and these are like little full stops. And at the end, there is a longer stop, and this is like saying, oh, we've gotten to the end of the paragraph, which gives the listener a bit of time to digest everything. Let's hear what it sounds like again. What less experienced soloists do is finish their phrases on any old note, and then they struggle to work out why their solos sound so boring. Feel how unresolved this sounds when the phrase doesn't lead to a root note. So when you're soloing, come up with a little phrase and think about a good time to resolve it to a root note. Incidentally, the intro solo to Thrill Is Gone is full of lots of great stuff, and it's why it's a solo that I always force my private students to learn, whether they like it or not. Number 2, the major-minor method. This is Stevie Ray Vaughan playing the intro solo to Texas Flood, and on the original recording, he plays this lick, which includes a subtle little trick. But to understand it, let's take a few steps back. If you've been playing for a number of years, you'll almost certainly know that this is the A minor pentatonic scale. But if you go down 3 frets and start with this, A as your tonic, it becomes the A major pentatonic scale. Unfortunately, for many late beginners and intermediates, knowing this actually makes their solos worse. I see students at this level solo in the minor pentatonic box, get bored and then solo in the major pentatonic box, and then just go back and forth. And there's no real rhyme or reason why they are switching. I find it helpful for students to think a good guitar solo is like a musical picture. This is a simplification, but if a student starts playing in the minor pentatonic box, it feels like they're painting a sad picture. And then by making a rapid shift to the major pentatonic scale, all of a sudden they are painting a happy picture, and so on and so forth. And this is really jarring. Cue study music. We want to paint a picture with our solo, which is predominantly sad, but with touches of brightness for contrast. To get the brightness, we're going to take the brightest interval from the major pentatonic scale, which is the major third, and add that interval to the minor pentatonic scale. So now we only have one pattern to work with. But how often do you add the major third? Well, let's let Stevie Ray Vaughan answer that, because that's exactly what he does in the intro to Texas Flood. He starts with the 12-bar solo, which has 143 notes, which is predominantly in the G minor pentatonic scale and blues extension box. But how many times do you think Stevie Ray Vaughan adds the major third? Well, only once, and that's this lick. And the genius of this lick is that he plays that major third once, and later he bends into it as well, which is a really cheeky little move, as it adds the major and minor at the same time. And this adds a nice little flavour and a nice contrast to that minor pentatonic flavour. I find that this is a very useful way to approach the minor pentatonic scale for less experienced players. Use the minor pentatonic box as your basis, and occasionally add in a lick which includes this major third. for a nice contrast. This avoids flipping between the two patterns, it sounds better, and is also practically much easier.
It's great, you know.
Stevie whacks a lick in this part of the 12-bar blues progression, which is a great place to put it. If you like the free tabs from today's video, there's a link in the video description, and also please give the video a like if you find it helpful. There is something that great artists do all the time. This thing is one of the key elements of art or design. You can see it in art, and also why they keep making the same movies over and over again. It is repetition. Humans just love repetition. Western music has, like, for forever, used motifs or short recurring musical ideas. But it happens all the time in guitar-based music. A guitar riff, for example, is a musical motif. This is John Mayer's intro solo to I Don't Trust Myself. And even though John Mayer is a fantastic guitarist, he uses the motif trick by playing this very simple phrase repeatedly, because the trick is just so damn effective. I find that less experienced soloists have a common problem. They try and fit way too many notes into a solo. And there's no common thread between the notes. But by using a motif, it allows a soloist to create a simple hook and gives players permission to play far more interesting notes. A simple way you can use this yourself is to play a motif, play it again, and then the third time try to resolve it to the root note. And there's a very simple way to know if you've done a pretty good job. After playing the motif, see if you can sing it back. If you can, it's kind of memorable enough. So in my case it was do, 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 do. We want the motif to be memorable, but also simple enough that an audience can remember it. And that's what makes it a hook. Number 4, let's do a real quick one. You can draw a picture with pen or brush or human blood. These all create different textures. And we use textures when we're playing guitar to make them more interesting. I found this improvised jam of John Mayer with his Berkeley teacher, Tomo Fujita, really interesting, as he's playing without his normal pedal board, and he's using the A minor pentatonic scale here. This is John Mayer's pedal board that he normally uses to create different textures, and by textures I mean getting different sounds out of the guitar. Without his pedal board, he needs to use other ways to create interesting textures. So he changes his pickup selectors, and changes the volume and tone knobs. I find less experienced players are really reluctant to ever touch this pickup selector. But one thing that John Mayer does, which I find really interesting, is he uses his fingers a lot to create tonal differences. So here he plays his fingers like a bass. And here he uses his fingers in a different way to create different tones. So when you're playing a solo, be brave and use your fingers, or pop the strings. Less experienced soloists tend to play with no dynamic range when they're playing. Everything's just played at the same monotonous volume. These texture tricks help solve that problem by giving an audience something they didn't expect. And that's a good thing. And if these tricks are good enough for John Mayer, they're good enough for us. Because who doesn't love John Mayer? Oh. Late beginners and intermediates often struggle with making the correct chord choices, so I'll check out this video next if you want to understand that better.